Welcome, one and all, to the Woman of the Bible series. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about a fine lady called Esther, going into her character and what we as women can get from this Bible figure. The story starts off in Esther chapter 1, well, obviously, where we're introduced to King Ahasuerus and Vashti, his soon-to-be ex-wife. I know, right? Shocking. King Ahasuerus was partying with his friends, having an exquisite feast with his royal subjects, when he called for Vashti to be brought out, so that the guests can see her. However, she refused. Long story short, the king got mad that his wife had done him bad, and that was the last we saw of her. Of course, the king now needs a wife, so he goes in search of one, calling all of the fair young virgins to his palace so he can choose the one he wants. Now, our protagonist, Esther, comes into the scene in Esther 2. She's chosen from all the maidens to be the new queen in verse 17, the first evidence that God was on her side. We're then introduced to the antagonist, Haman, in Esther 3, an Agagite who became greater than all the other princes that were around him in the kingdom. Haman got mad at Mordecai, a Jew who was Esther's guardian, for not bowing to him when everyone else did. So he took the only logical course of action and decided to set a day where every Jew in the kingdom would be killed in Esther chapter 3 verses 6 to 9. Yes, that was the best option he could have taken. Mordecai caught wind of this madness and told Esther, urging her to talk to the king about the matter, not only for her people, but also for herself, as she was also a Jew. Esther was hesitant at first because if someone were to see the king uninvited, and the golden scepter was not held out to them in acceptance, they'd be put to death, according to Esther chapter 4 verse 11. Again, the best course of action for such a grand offense. However, Esther's mission was to do exactly that, not to be put to death, but to see the king uninvited. If Esther was a coward, she would have stuck to her reasons and figured that since she was queen, she wouldn't be killed. She would then sit back and hide behind her position, as she would watch all her people be killed. However, she was not a coward. Instead, she was loyal to her uncle and cared for her people, the Jews. So, she took the risk in Esther chapter 5 verses 1 and 2. And the golden scepter was held out to her. She did it, everyone. If God was not with her, there was a very decent chance that she would have died that day. But she didn't, and the same applies to us. If we serve God truthfully and sincerely, everything else in our lives will fall in place, according to Matthew chapter 6 verse 33, where Jesus Christ told us, "But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." So, if we're righteous, if God doesn't say it's our time to die, we won't die. There are other examples in the Bible where we find this. One example is Simeon, who in Luke chapter 2 verses 25 to 30, we were told that he wouldn't die until Jesus Christ was born. Simeon then said in verses 29 and 30, "Lord, now lettest thou thy servant depart in peace, according to thy word, for mine eyes have seen thy salvation." Another example is Jesus Christ in John chapter 8 verses 58 to 59. Those listening to Jesus took up stones to stone him. Again, the most logical course of action. But he simply left the temple, and nothing happened to him. The same thing happened in Luke chapter 4, verses 28 to 30, where they thrust him out of the city and were going to cast him down a cliff. Okay, what is with these weird punishments? But he was just able to go through them and go on his way without harm. This is exactly what happened to Esther, which makes Jesus' statement in Matthew chapter 10, verses 29 to 31, make a lot more sense. In those verses he said, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing, and one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father? But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not therefore, ye are of more value than many sparrows." But one last thing I'd like to say is that whatever position we find ourselves in, God might have something that he wants us to do. In Esther's case, she found herself as queen, and God wanted her to use her position to save the Jews from the wicked Haman. So wherever we are in life, we have to make sure that we're open to be used by God, and to further his will. As St. Paul told us in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 20 to 21 on this topic, "If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work." But that's the end of this video. To support my channel, you can subscribe, hit the like button, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified of when I post again. Thank you for coming, and I'd love to see you again soon.